My name is Charlie McGrath. I'm the founder of WideAwakeNews.com and a host on the Rinse Radio Network. Debt slave. We've talked about it on this channel, on my radio program for quite some time. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a debt slave? Well, you got a really good example over this past several days inside of Cyprus of what being a debt slave is all about. You also got a real clear-cut example of where we're going as humanity going into the future, the near future, in fact. People that went to bed on Friday in Cyprus woke up today to find out that they're going to receive a 7 to 10% tax. Let's call it what it is. They're going to be robbed 7 to 10% in their bank accounts. The money they have sitting in their banks in Cyprus is going to be taken out, and it's going to be given to a bunch of bankers, a bunch of International Monetary Fund banksters that need this kind of assurance in order to immerse the nation even further into debt. What does this show us? The European debt crisis, it's just getting warmed up. It isn't resolved with the ESM or any of these other programs that promise to keep the too big to fail alive while levying higher and higher taxes on the people of Europe. In fact, it shows us that the crisis is getting worse, and now they're trying to use new extraordinary measures, in this case, stealing the money directly out of the people's accounts. That is stealing these people's property. 71% of the people of Cyprus, they don't want this to happen. They just elected a new president 3 weeks ago because he promised that he wouldn't invoke any kind of a wealth tax. The first thing he did is invoke a wealth tax, which is another way of saying they stole money out of the bank accounts of these people. Of course, the authorities weren't doing this blindly. They limited the amount of withdrawals that the people could take, and now, in fact, in Cyprus, there is a bank holiday. But what is this going to get the people of Cyprus? Will they just get this one-time tax of 7 to 10% and the problem will be over? Absolutely not. This isn't going to stop with Cyprus. Cyprus was a test run. There's bigger fish to fry coming down the road. Italy, Spain, Portugal, the rest of Europe, the United States of America. Because Cyprus was sitting there at about 90% of GDP to debt ratio. Because of the fact that their government turned coat on their people and stole money out of their accounts and handed them to a bunch of bankers, they're going to get the benefit of going from 90% debt to GDP to 140% debt to GDP ratio. So the people just got screwed inside of Cyprus, and now more debt is going to be piled on top of them. But hey, this is how you operate in a nation, in a continent that is governed by technocrat banksters. Promise them everything and immerse the people in further and further debt until they become subservient to the banking elite. This is the path that we've been put on steroids over the last 5 years. For those of you that think for 1 second that that cannot happen in the United States, man, it is time to wake up and realize that we're further down the path of indentured servitude or debt slavery than they are inside of Europe. 17 nations make up the Eurozone that use the euro as their currency. That's 17 parliaments. That's a whole lot of representatives that have to be replaced and technocrats put into place in order to do the bidding of the central banks. It's already occurred here in the United States. If you think your 401k is safe, if you think because the Dow Jones is at 15,000 points, that means things are going to be better and your financial future is safe, it is time to wake up and realize 90% debt to GDP ratio is what Cyprus is sitting at right now before they rip off their people and immerse them further into debt. The United States is over 100% of its GDP to debt ratio. This can, this will, and it is planned to happen here. It doesn't matter if it's Cyprus or if it's Spain or if it's Italy. They're all the same banks doing the exact same tactics around this planet. They will eventually come to this country too. If you think it can't happen, you will be the one sitting there saying, what on earth just happened to me? What is this going on? I can't believe this happened to me in my own country. Wake up and realize they're not your friend. The bank, these too big to fail institutions, the turncoat politicians in Washington, D.C., they do not have your interest at heart. They do not have the best interest of the financial future of this nation at heart. If they did, the problem would be fixed by now. We wouldn't still be talking about too big to fail institutions. We wouldn't still be talking about $1 trillion a year deficits. We wouldn't be talking about debt to GDP ratios of 100, 200, 300%. We would be talking about putting a bunch of criminal banksters in jail and dissolving their fraudulent debt and moving on as a people and as a country together, but we're not. We're talking about what can we do to save the exact same institutions that brought us here. It's not stopping in Cyprus. If you're listening to me in Italy, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, the rest of Europe, or even if you're listening to me in the United States, you better think long and hard where you have your wealth stored. Because this is one example that shows you these bankers have no problem whatsoever stealing in broad daylight and getting political and legislative cover on their side to make it legal. They do not care about you. Take care of yourself. We have no representative government on this planet anymore, unless you consider the fact that they represent the true constituency, the bankster elite. Stories are attached. That's all I got.